Morning, everyone. It's great to be here, but at the same time, it's pretty unnerving as well. Looking at this amazing set of congregated thought leaders out here. I want to make a point about presentations before we start. The thing about presentations is, if you were to attend a funeral, they say it's easy to lie peacefully in the casket than actually read a eulogy. But we have the hard task here. We will obviously do a good job. I've been having some pretty amazing conversations with a lot of you here in the hallway here, and what has really come up through those conversations is that all of this is kind of really a melting pot that we're trying to kind of showcase and play it back to you. So this particular presentation that Swapnil and I are going to do will be an extension of what we've already been discussing so far and will continue to discuss going forward. To make it simple, what we have tried to do is break this whole presentation into three simple components. First is the state of the market, where the market really stands right now. The second thing is, in this particular state of the market, where is the money really moving in the technology industry? And what does it really mean for all of us in terms of deals? How are the deals shaping, the large deals? Is there a rebound of the small deals in the marketplace? And then where really are we poised and stood strategically to take advantage of that? With that, I'm going to hand it over to Swapnil.
Yeah.
Swapnil, over to you.
Thank you, Rakesh, and welcome everyone. It's great to see a lot of familiar faces here. Always good to see that every year at our event. Now, if you look at it, and actually I was thinking, Rakesh, when Anupam and Akshay were talking about that, this slide is probably already dated even before we first showed it today, right? But just to take a step back, right? When we were looking at things in November, December, things were pretty stable. I think the market was recovering. The GDP forecast was stable. Inflation was on the right path and all of that. But if we just take the last 2 months, right, it's just been a barrage of lots of changes on different aspects which are eventually going to impact our industry, right? Of course, the biggest change with Donald Trump coming in, but there are also a lot of other changes. DeepSeek came out, the focus on Stargate came in. So, what we want to really highlight over here is that things going forward are also going to be pretty interesting for all of us in this industry, right? We were expecting some kind of stability later, in the later half of last year, but now all bets are off. And I think what we have to do is just stay aware of all the things that are happening, how they can potentially impact us from a demand side and also from a delivery angle as well. There's such a big focus on migration for, immigration, for example. So all in all, I think the message here is that with the tentativeness that we had earlier is going to remain for some time, at least till some of these things mature and we understand how they're going to impact the enterprises and how they buy. Having said that, with all of this going on, we of course do a lot of enterprise surveys and discussions. What we've found is that despite all of this, the IT operational budgets continue to show on the right path, right? I think most enterprises have understood in the last few years that technology is the fundamental glue that will hold them together, that will help them sustain, survive, and grow in the future. So the technology budgets are not going anywhere. There is a recalibration, and Rakesh will talk about it, but the budgets themselves, I think, are going to continue to be on the right side from a technology perspective. AI, of course, is a big component of this, and we'll talk about it in detail. Berzot, just adding to that, I think the other interesting thing we found out also is that we've all gone through a sort of a winter of cost optimization, right? Everyone was just focused on getting cost optimization done. But in the last few months, I think middle of last year and all, what we are seeing is that the CIO mandate is actually shifting a little, right? From predominantly cost optimization to a balance between both improving services through innovation and balancing the cost. So This trend we are seeing from our CIO conversations as well. And this gives us an opportunity because, if you tie it with the few things that I mentioned earlier, right? Technology investments will continue to grow. The nature of technology investments will be focused towards innovation. Service providers will also have to change, become more specialized to support some of these areas of innovation as well. So, this is sort of the message of the state of the market that we're seeing right now. Cautious optimism, I think, with a focus on making sure that you make the right investments towards driving innovation for your customers. Go ahead.
Absolutely. So, just building on what Swapnil just said, I think the first message that we really wanted to convey here is the fact that the state of the market really is on an uptick. There is positive notes that we are seeing. There are deals that are happening in the market. Just to give you a small data point about large mega deals, and we would qualify that to be $100 million annual contract value. Just in the last 12 months, we've had close to about 35 plus, or close to about 40 or 100 million plus deals, shape out there. Now, if you do the maths, it's just about 3 mega deals per month, 1 mega deal per every single 10 days. So there is a lot of movement happening out in the market. But what we are also seeing is that the overall budget itself is shifting. The nature of the technology investments within enterprises, as we have the conversations with our own clients, what we are seeing is that the money is kind of making its way into those pockets of opportunities where the enterprises see the maximum bang for their buck for. And you see some of these tall pillars out here. No wonder that I'm sure everyone in the room will agree that AI ML happens to take the largest share of all the investments that enterprises are looking at. It comes at the back of investments on infrastructure, a lot of cloud consumption, where a lot of the compute consumption is also propelling all the AI ML investments on the application side of the house. So obviously cyber security, again, I don't think there will be any arguments on that. So we are seeing a lot of very natural shifts towards those pockets of opportunities where the enterprises are really focusing on. And we have some very interesting connections to be made between the infrastructure investments as well as the applications investments of the house. We'll connect that back to the managed service provider deals that we are seeing in the market vis-a-vis the GCC investments that are trying to make. So those connections is something that we'll put and try a good conversation with all of you here. But this is where the investments are really headed towards. Next one. Thank you. Uh, when we looked at each of the industries, as you can see here, a lot of the top use cases really are moving into production. Last year, when we met with all of you, we did see a plethora of projects which were into the pilot mode. The POCs is what were making their ways into enterprise future projects list. But as we stand today, what we see here is that a lot of those POCs have productionized, and you will see that a lot of the projects that you see here are hitting right at the core of where the enterprises operate. So if you take life sciences vertical, for example, a lot of R&D related activities, AI propelled R&D related activities with respect to molecular research, with respect to clinical trials, with respect to flooding their supply chains with the manufactured drugs, and so on and so forth, are hitting the core of every single industry that we are talking to. Uh, so this is, while the previous slide was a little bit of a broader view that our research brought forth to the table, this is something that we have tried to cull out from our conversations with our list of specific clients. So you can see a wide array of industries that we are talking to, starting from airports to drug manufacturers to financial services industry clients. And as you can see, the investments out here are spread across a wide variety of AI investments. So a lot of our clients today are asking us to set up their governance model for AI investments, just to be sure that they are complying with the risks, compliance requirements of having rolled out these AI platforms out there for interacting with their customers. Particularly this client that we want to highlight was it's an airport client where they have asked us to list down Gen AI specific case studies on the air side, on the curb side, and in the terminal. They want to see how they can, potentially use Gen AI use cases to improve the customer satisfaction through and through in their entire value chain. And this is again, drilling down deeper into one of our life sciences vertical clients here. As you can see, the spread of projects ranges from design of substrate material for their molecular research, drug discovery, regulatory documentation, and also enterprise AI capabilities. So there is a wide variety of AI use cases that enterprises are using right here. And then we are seeing all of these use cases getting into production. We wanted to spend a little time on, and you will hear more about this from Kevin's presentation as well, how the tech enabled services has really been taking shape in the marketplace, how the people component has been on a constant decline, but the applications or the technology component has been on the rise here. The blue line really depicts the applications intake component here. Three things to see here. We saw that there are moving investments into the application side of the house. When you looked at the ADM specific deals in the marketplace, just the standalone ADM deals have been on the decline. So there's not a whole lot going to the service provider ecosystem. There is just about an incremental rise on the SaaS consumption compared to last year. So there is a whole lot of money that is sitting out there getting spent elsewhere. Those are the in-house teams that enterprises are building. Those are the GCC investments that enterprises are talking about. So in the next slide, you will see how GCCs have really gained prominence when it comes to propelling the AI and the application story.
Yeah. So I think there's always been a buzz around global capability centers for a while, but what we wanted to do was actually do a little bit of analysis to see how much of this is buzz and how much of this is actually real. And short blurb, I think it's very real. There is that opportunity in the GCCs that's coming in. We looked at a couple of metrics. I think we looked at what we call the GCC significance ratio. This is really the ratio of the headcount that an organization has in their GCCs versus their overall headcount. And if we look at it from 2020 to 23, there has been a shift to the right in this particular thing as well. So the significance ratio or the importance of a GCC strategy as part of the enterprise overall business strategy, I think, is consistently increasing. The other thing we also saw is how the cost or the salary costs actually change significantly between GCCs and service providers. So the implication here is, as the costs actually increase, the salary costs in GCCs increase, there is the expectation from GCCs is shifting. So the enterprise expectations or the parent body's expectations is for GCCs to drive a lot more innovation, and that's something that Rakesh was also referring to. The nature of projects that they're doing right now has to be on the business innovation side. What this, of course, means that there is an opportunity for everyone in this room also to engage with GCCs as providing them services as well. But when you do that, that specialized hiring will still be required. They're not going to only look for bodies, they're not going to look for people who can staff some of the functions, but they are looking for talent which can help them drive this innovation agenda and justify their presence as well or their growth as well in this one. This is again related to the same thing. I think there is a growth from traditional services to value-driven partnerships that GCCs are looking at. If you look at the reason why we've got a box around this here is that against the strategic objectives, types of projects, the nature of projects is moving more towards innovation, R&D, driving digital transformation at the parent enterprise, all of those critical elements. And service providers will need to kind of map the way they think along these 6 parameters to enable themselves to become, stronger proponents, stronger partners for enterprises and GCCs as well in the future. And we'll talk about, we have a couple of GCC speakers later today who will also be talking about what they're looking for, how they want to partner with service providers as well.
One point of the previous slide there, Swapnil. I think the hats that service providers have to wear, if you were to, let's say, take yourself to a managed services construct, we hear a lot of AI ops led service delivery model. The people only construct has now shifted to a machine first, machine led service delivery model. We hear all these, platforms about, Topaz of the world, the Igneos of the world, the Zastras of the world, the AI Force of the world. So every single vendor on this particular side of the house, on the MSP side of the house, is focused on driving efficiencies to the maximum possible extent. And that's where the machine first led model is really driving the conversations. But shift your focus to the GCC side of the house. What it really tells us that we spoke about this applications, investments, right? Focused on internal teams or GCCs. There's a lot of focus on driving transformation, driving innovation, driving independent product roadmaps out of the GCCs here. So then what automatically happens is the automation or the efficiency led story does not really hold water there. There's a very different innovation story which has to be driven out of the GCCs, and that's the difference that we wanted to make out, call out for the group here, that the storyboarding for the GCCs compared to the MSP constructs that we have been taking to the market are kind of different in these two scenarios.
Now, this actually wanted to show this again. This is an interesting analysis that we did. Basically, just a minute to kind of understand the chart. Basically, we've indexed the revenues and the headcount of all the major service providers, managed service providers right now. And we indexed it in calendar quarter 4 of 2022. And since then, we've been tracking it to see how things are moving, right? Interestingly, I think this was the first time for 6 quarters there was actually at an industry level a decline in headcount within our industry. This has never happened before, right? But what was also very interesting to see here is that the revenue, of course, you see a bit of cyclicity, but then as business leaders here, we know that our business does have its cyclical trends a little bit as well. But revenues, the utilization, the revenue per employee is actually diverging from the headcount now. We've had the last couple of quarters, of course, the headcount has increased again. But overall, the message here is that over the last 6 quarters, we've kind of learned how to become better at utilization, better at productivity. We're using AI better to deliver services for our clients. And that path, I think we are moving well on that path. And this this divergence between the revenue as well as the headcount index, I think we need to continue to focus on all the strong things that you guys have been doing to make sure that this continues on this path. And once that happens, with utilization increasing, the kind of people and talent, the specialized talent that you are focusing on, I'm sure despite all of the kind of changes that we expect to see in the market, I think we'll still be well placed to continue growth in this industry. Right. So those were some of the messages that we wanted to leave. So thank you so much for the time. Yeah.